I'm inspired by the other churches which still have some images like altares or icons or decoration of the wall for the church in Engelthal, because I need to be in a way rather in the same style with the rest of the Saxon churches which were decorated by the Saxon himself or by some craftsmen which they bring here, even from West, long time ago, 500 years ago. The situation is catastrophic with these churches. Are in a way or other, nobody is taking care so properly of them because, well, lack of finance or just they're just closed, most of them, or abandoned because there are no people to have sermon inside. I think in many cases they need restoration. For example, this altar needs a restoration because it's very old and it will collapse one day.
When I came here 4.5 years ago, it was a few inhabitants, a Saxon, but old, an old guy. He looked mad. I mean, I think he was crazy in the end. An old lady, a shepherd, and the servant of that shepherd. But now it's just one inhabitant. That shepherd, because the rest disappeared or died. This shepherd will live too this summer. So I will remain alone here because he will move out. He's exhausted. This is the Romanian cemetery, Orthodox. Here was a house, for example. These are the basement, the foundation of the house. But everything disappeared. Here was the Gemeinde house, but that the last Mohican burned it. She just burned it. He was drunk or something. The last Saxon Mohican, Michael Dengel. Here was the community house, Gemeinde house, but he burned it. And in the end he burned himself. This is almost all what remained from the village. I sleep here. Before I had the house, even now I sleep. I sleep sometimes here. Because I didn't have the house in the beginning. For 2 years I have to live in the church. Mm-hmm. This I found it in an old house here. Vergessen in the Heimat.
You found it here?
In a house, in an abandoned house. I found many objects. I found it.
My project here in Engelthal connected with the church, with the Saxon Evangelic Church of Engelthal. It's that I paint on the walls and on the roof of the church inside the history of the Saxon community in Transylvania. From the beginning, when they came as settlers, till their disappearance after the collapse of communism. The community here disappeared. They died or they left for another places or for Germany, including the Romanian population and some Hungarians. They decided to leave this place almost 40 years ago, and the last of them died in the last 2 or 3 years. I would say that it's connected with the World War II, the history of them, because they joined Waffen-SS, and because of this, some of them, most of them, 90% of them, of the young generation of the Saxon community, and because of this they were dragged in a kind of a communist apocalypse after the war, being expelled from their properties or forced in a labor camp in Russia, and in the end they decided to leave because it was too much politically involvement of the Communist Party in these 45 years of occupation here. So somehow it's connected, as I said, because there is the root of their destruction, of the Saxon community destruction in the World War II. And this is a gallows. For some of my friends which are losers, I invite them to commit suicide here. It's a gallows, in fact. You can use it if you want to hang yourself. I decided to stay here at least for a while because I like the place, because of the nature, and at the same time it's an economical reason. It was just cheap. It was cheap to buy properties here and to concession the church, because it's a remote place and no inhabitants, and the access is very difficult indeed, including in the raining time or in the snowing time, but even like this, it's in the end I managed to survive. Well, life, it's funny and at the same time very hard here to survive, and I get help from some of the shepherds here because they gave me some foods, and I work with them. They help me with horses or with tractors, but probably will become much and much harder because the last of this Mohican, Romanian shepherd, probably will leave this summer, as he says, this place, because he's fed up, he's exhausted. But anyway, I will survive like this. I have some fruits too in these gardens, in the garden of the church and in my garden, and the rest of the food I will bring it from the nearest village, Buia.